Welcome to this to this first inspirational session of the day, and I'm really pleased to introduce you to our new speaker, Peter Spiegeleer. Peter is an enterprise security architect at Proximus. He is our in-house expert when it comes to post-quantum cryptography. With over 20 years of experience in IT across public sectors, telecoms, and finance, Peter specializes in enterprise architecture, in IT security, and governance, risk, and compliance. He is also currently driving the Proximus migration strategy towards post-quantum safe cryptography. In this session, Peter will highlight the importance of quantum safe cryptography and explain why this topic is more important than ever. He will also detail what PQC and crypto agility mean and how organization can organize for the Q-Day. Finally, he will reveal what Proximus has already put in place on this journey. Let's get ready for an eye-opening session on securing the future. Peter, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, I think most of you will know that during World War II, the Enigma machine was used to encrypt secret messages for strategic and tactical warfare purposes. And that machine, back in the day, was really considered, or it was really a marvel of technology. So it was really state of the art, until it was broken by Alan Turing. And today's cryptographic systems may be facing their own reckoning. For decades, our digital world has been protected by cryptographic systems or by cryptographic walls so high they seemed unscalable. But what if a new kind of ladder was being built? Not taller, but smarter. Nothing is as ubiquitous but barely noticed as cryptography. What purpose does it serve? Why do we use cryptography? Well, I think everybody will know that it's the foundation of trust and security. It protects data confidentiality and integrity, and it enforces authentication and non-repudiation. And it does that for data at rest, for data in motion, and for data in use. For enterprises, it prevents theft of sensitive data, it prevents unauthorized access, and it ensures that data is not being tampered with. The use of cryptography has disappeared in the infrastructure. So a bit like the plumbing pipes that you see on the slide. But it's omnipresent. There are today approximately 90 billion devices and applications that rely on cryptography. The total notional value of global trading in the financial markets averages, on a daily basis, averages $27 trillion. And yet you don't see hackers taking advantage to rob an exchange. Large-scale direct theft of exchanges is as good as not existing. Kudos to cryptography. According to Google's transparency report, Google is or achieves encryption of 99% of their traffic. Every second, there are 700,000 online transactions that are encrypted and signed, and there are more than 50 cryptographic keys on your smartphone right now that are protecting it. But as I said, cryptography is mostly abstracted away from the end users, and there is even a tendency to treat it in a rather sloppy way. I remember having talked to a manager who wanted to get rid of digital certificates because he considered them to be a nuisance to the end users. So, cryptographic primitives are generally divided in two families. There is symmetric cryptography and asymmetric cryptography. Symmetric algorithms or symmetric cryptographic algorithms rely on bit and byte level substitution and permutation operations in order to achieve confusion and diffusion in the output. So it's a bit like a shredder. You can imagine that it's a shredder, but a shredder that of course also works in the reverse way. On the other hand, asymmetric algorithms rely on clever arithmetic, on number theoretical problems that are computationally hard to solve, at least in one way, the so-called trapdoor functions. And for these functions, there are two families of mathematical problems, the discrete logarithm problems and the number factoring problems. And those two problems are, unfortunately, among the ones that can be solved by a quantum computer, or that could be solved by a quantum computer. Of the 90 billion devices and applications, approximately 60 billion make use of asymmetric cryptography, mostly combined with symmetric cryptography, which is considered, or which is 2 to 3 orders of magnitude faster than asymmetric cryptography. And 30 billion applications and devices are making use of symmetric cryptography only. So what are the typical use cases of symmetric or secret key cryptography? Well, it excels in performance-heavy, data-centric use cases. So typically, we're talking about bulk data encryption on storage devices, or encryption of network traffic, mobile systems, Wi-Fi traffic, but also some payment schemes and some password protection schemes. On the other hand, public key cryptography or asymmetric key cryptography is essentially used in identity-centric or trust-centric use cases, or use cases with distributed or multi-party environments. So one key use case is to establish the keys that are consumed by symmetric cryptography, which is a very important fact because it enables to conduct symmetric encryption. And for the rest, we can imagine use cases such as messaging applications, email protection, code signing, e-passports, e-ID cards, but also cryptocurrencies, and also remote attestation for trusted execution environments. Well, since a few years, we are witnessing the second quantum revolution. The second quantum revolution, indeed, the first quantum revolution occurred in the first half of the previous century and shaped the world, the technology world we know today. So without mastering quantum mechanics, we would not have known computers, smartphones, medical imagery, etc. Today, we can prepare the state of a quantum object and control its properties to the level that we can really talk about real-world transformative applications. And these come in three families. There is quantum computing, quantum communications, and quantum sensing. Quantum computing is a model of computation that solves some problems exceptionally fast and faster than any classical computer can or will be able to do. The unit of information is the quantum bit or the qubit, and the biggest challenge today is to maintain coherence across a collection of qubits. This is the real challenge today with quantum computing. It is to make sure that a collection of qubits can collaborate to solve a problem and that they remain stable during the time that is required to solve that problem. That is the main challenge, and it has become a science in its own right. So this means that only certain problems are fit to be handled by a quantum computer, and this also means that it is very likely that quantum computing and classical computing will complement each other in what is called quantum-centric supercomputing. Another vision is that we would once have a quantum internet where quantum computers and quantum memories would be connected through fiber channels and through free space via satellites. Quantum computers exist, so they are not science fiction, they exist. It's a reality. They can have various architectures, and they are available for you for use. So you can, today and even a few years ago, you could submit your Python code in the cloud to a quantum computer, even with a free account. Quantum supremacy was demonstrated by Google already in 2019. Quantum supremacy means that a quantum computer can beat a classical computer, but the way it beats the classical computer is not relevant. So the problem at hand is in fact not relevant. It can be anything. Also, last year, as recently as last year, Google demonstrated quantum supremacy with a standard benchmark operation performed in under 5 minutes, where a classical computer or the best supercomputer of today would take 10 septillion years, which is 10 to the 25th which is in fact vastly exceeding the age of our universe. So, and it was done below 5 minutes. That is quantum supremacy. Google also demonstrated quantum advantage, which means that the quantum computer beats a classical computer for a meaningful problem, something that provides a business benefit. And it did that with the quantum AI program, using also their quantum Willow chip. And there the speed up was with a factor of 13,000. So both quantum supremacy and advantage have been demonstrated. So unfortunately, the problems underlying asymmetric cryptography are among the ones that a future supercomputer would be able to solve in polynomial time. So this is a problem. Such a computer is called a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, a CRQC or a CROC, and that day is called Q-day. The primary algorithm to do that was conceived by Peter Shor, the guy in the middle, already back in 1994. So more than 30 years ago, that algorithm was already known, how to tackle discrete logarithms and how to tackle number factoring. So this makes this risk equation a bit weird. So we have an uncertain and debatable likelihood, but we have a cataclysmic impact. The guy on the left is Love Grover. He conceived an algorithm 2 years later, in '96, to deal with symmetric cryptography. But there, the risk is considered much less significant. So there, it suffices to double the key length of your classical algorithm to be safe. So nation states are investing heavily for the first mover advantage. And one could say that these two persons here, these two academics, are among the two most dangerous men on the planet today. So when would that Q-day be a reality? There are different opinions. There is a lot of debate in the academic world. In 2019, Gidney and Akera said, well, you would need 1 million qubits, and then that CROC could solve your RSA 2048-bit key, or could recover that key in a few days of time. Likewise, other academics have published articles saying that you would need 1,730 logical qubits, and that could be feasible by 2032. There are also experts saying, skepticists saying, well, Q-day, it will never be there because it will show to be too complex to deal with that coherence problem, too complex and too costly. So the overall consensus is that it would take between 10 and 15 years. So in 10 to 15 years from now, we should really be worried about the existence of a CROC. Of course, in the meantime, progress is being made in different levels. So we can imagine progress in the realization of qubits, in the management of their stability, and also qubits in the crypto-analytical world, where, for example, another or an alternative for the Shor's algorithm could be conceived. So what is post-quantum cryptography? Well, that is the mitigation to this threat. So cryptography will not disappear, it must evolve, and PQC, post-quantum cryptography, is the new generation of algorithms that can withstand both classical and quantum attacks. All systems are going to be, we will need to update all systems. So this is a globally concerted effort that is needed. NIST is the institution standardizing these PQC algorithms. NIST has published 3 standards last year. Other standards development organizations will need to follow. I'm thinking of IETF, IEEE, ETSI, etc. They will need to follow. And also we start to see products that adopted PQC algorithms. So even your browser today can cope with the quantum threat. So in fact, we are already under attack today. We are all under attack today because what happens is that data is being harvested with the purpose of decrypting it once this CROC will be available. This is a passive attack, and it's the attack that you hear about all over the place. In the media, people are talking about this harvest now, decrypt later attack. A more stringent attack is the trust now, forge later, where a private key can be recovered in order to forge digital signatures, or in order to impersonate users, or even in order to deploy rogue software, which is a much more stringent threat in the sense that it leads to sabotage. Okay. A third good reason to already be bothered about all of this today is that migrating is a very complex activity. It's very complex. We just have to remind that in order to migrate away from SHA-1, it took most enterprises between 5 and 10 years. And so here we are not talking about just one crypto primitive, we're talking about a whole collection. This is very well represented in the mnemonic of Michele Mosca. So what does this say? If X, I'm hearing, okay. If X is the time you need your data to be confidential in the sense that it has a value over a lifetime equal to X, or if X is the lifetime of your trust association, and if Y is the time you need for your infrastructure to be migrated to a quantum safe state, then if X plus Y exceeds the estimated time of arrival of a clock, then your information asset is already in trouble. It's a lost case. It's lost. So the only thing that you can do is accelerate the migration to a quantum safe state. That's the only thing you can do. What about timelines? Well, the coordinated implementation roadmap that was established by the NIST cooperation group as a result of the EU recommendation of 2024 has led to an agreement for 3 milestones. The first one is national strategies should be defined by the end of 26. Protection of critical infrastructure and highly sensitive use cases or high-risk use cases should be achieved by the end of 2030, and all the other cases are supposed to be achieved by the end of 35. So this is what we should be looking at. These are the milestones that matter. So now that we understand the global threat of a crock and the motivation for quantum safety, let's talk about migration. So organizations don't need to start from scratch. There is a lot of guidance available, very good guidance. Examples are, well, you should have a look to the paper that was prepared by the Quantum Circle in the first place. There is the Dutch TNO Migration Handbook, which is very, very good. There is also the Coordinated Implementation Roadmap that comes with a whole set of guidelines. And what all of these guidelines have in common is that they define, or that they seem to agree on the need to have 3 phases. The first phase is called the vulnerability diagnosis phase. The second phase is the strategy and planning phase. And the third phase is the migration execution phase. And taking the first step today can save significant time and resources in the future. So the vulnerability diagnosis phase is about, first of all, understanding what this threat is about and the impact of quantum computer on cybersecurity. You don't need to be an expert, but you at least need some strategic awareness across IT, security, leadership, and audit teams. So this is really required to approach this comprehensively and not just as a technical concern. You also will need to classify your canonical enterprise information model according to the dimensions that matter. You should at least know about the longevity of your data. How long does it keep its value, etc. A very important capability is also the cryptographic asset discovery and inventory, or CADI. So this is knowing what algorithms and what protocols are living in what software and what hardware, and also knowing about the dependencies in the supply chain for cryptography. And then there is the low-hanging fruit. While doing all of this, you will undoubtedly see that you still deal with deprecated ciphers, and you should tackle those as well. Regarding the strategy and planning phase, well, you should have a comprehensive strategy that you develop from the top down, and you should make sure that it is backed by architecture principles and architecture patterns. You should establish a cryptographic center of excellence, and you should also understand the impact, the performance impact of the new standards. So for every choice that you make of a standard, you should at least know how it deals with the priorities that you have set in the first phase. And the transition roadmap then turns strategy into action. And it is strongly recommended also to conduct a POC at this stage, a proof of concept. That can reveal knowledge gaps, or that can reveal, or that provides confidence in general. Regarding the deployment, well, in the execution phase, you should deploy your new standards in controlled environments. You should validate that performance impact, and you should run it in hybrid mode, meaning that your classical cryptography and your quantum safe cryptography lives together, so that they are both present in your protection mechanisms. You should also embed cryptographic monitoring in your day-to-day security operations, and you should reach out to peers on platforms such as the Quantum Circle or the Cybersecurity Coalition. The Cybersecurity Coalition has a focus group dedicated to cryptography. And then you should also start building crypto agility. So it is commonly accepted that the new standards, as they are issued by NIST, will show vulnerabilities. So the standards that we know today, the classical cryptography standards that we know today, they have been vetted for decades by a global community of experts. So these are extremely robust, and it is very unlikely that they would certainly show vulnerabilities. This is not the case for the new standards. These are brand new. So yes, they have been vetted by experts, but very momentarily. So it is likely that they will show vulnerabilities. And this means that you should be able to adapt to new standards, again, newer standards. This means that your architecture must allow that. So this is crypto agility. It's a no-regret move, and by the way, it's also a principle that underpins the CRA, the Cyber Resilience Act, in the sense that all new products should demonstrate crypto agility by December 27. So what is Proximus doing? We initiated a PQC trajectory in three contexts for the quantum safe migration of our own products, the quantum safe migration of our internal assets, and also as a complement of our QKD offering, of our quantum key distribution offering. We have finalized the first phase, so the quantum vulnerability diagnosis phase in Q2 of this year. We were initially inspired by the TNO migration handbook, but decided to engage with an external consulting firm. And we took 10 weeks to assess 24 application and infrastructure domains. The selection of those were inspired by the NIST 2 criteria, and we delivered 9 heat maps. We delivered 7 fields of action, and we delivered also an outline of a migration roadmap. And this, by the way, also provided a general awareness about the quantum threat in the entire company. We also developed a PQC migration proof of concept. This was done in the Operation Support Systems domain. And this is something that really serves as a reference case because it caters for different crypto primitives. So it is an excellent reference case that serves for future migration projects. It also allowed a general understanding, and it provided confidence in the migration strategy. And it also allows our academic partner to test for side channel attacks in their own submissions to the NIST. We also developed a reference architecture for crypto agility, where we included building blocks for policy as code, compliance as code, cryptographic bill of materials. So all of that constitutes a consistent reference architecture for crypto agility, where externalization of cryptographic functions is key and where also automation is key. So in conclusion, the shift has begun. So just like you would not wait for an earthquake to start reinforcing a bridge, you should not wait for Q-Day to start your migration planning. From a legal perspective, by the way, there are currently no laws for protecting personal data against quantum computing. There are no such laws. However, if a future quantum computer would be used to decrypt data that is currently stored, then you can rest assured that the holder of this data will be held accountable. So this is a reality as well. So the consensus is quite clear. The threat is real, the consequences are severe, and my message to you is the time to act is now. So this is my call to action. And one final word of advice. You probably remember Jean-Luc Dehaene. He was once our prime minister. And Jean-Luc Dehaene was known for two slogans. The first one was, let the beast go. So perhaps you should not yet let the beast go for PQC, but you should at least be mindful about his second adage. And that was, one should only solve a problem when it arises. So don't be like Jean-Luc Dehaene and don't be a plumber. I thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Let's now take a few minutes to answer a question. So if you have a question, can you please raise your hand and I will throw this box to you so that you can ask your question to Peter. No question?
Hi, small question. Does NXT then offer professional services towards customers to guide you and to assist you in the journey to creation of CBOM and then strategy in PQC?
That is indeed the case, yes. And I will liaise you with the right person for that purpose, because I'm not a member of NXT, so I cannot speak on behalf of NXT, but I will make sure that you are well informed. So indeed, there will be a professional service or professional services specifically for PQC as well.
Other question? No? Then I would like to thank Peter again for this insightful session. Thank you all very much for your participation, and I wish you a very good and instructive Think Next day. If you want to have to give your feedback, feel free to scan the QR code here on the screen, and for the rest, enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Proximus Next. Tech Biz People.